with every fish landed, counted, weighed. Pieces of a jigsaw puzzle are being put together. It's thanks to these people, working in partnership, fishers and national authorities. Together, they're building a picture of the role and value of fisheries in the everyday lives of Caribbean people. And the pieces of that puzzle, we call them data.
We collect fish landings, and this is mainly catch and effort data. The data is used by the Fisheries Division, and this is being sent to the Ministry of Finance and Planning for the decision making to assist in the development again of the industry. The data collected is important for the management of the fisheries sector, and it is also important for the correct or right decision making for the development of the fishing industry.
But it's not just about collecting raw figures. Data can be used to provide information, and information, when analyzed, can become knowledge.
So it isn't the data by itself won't do it for you, but it is the usage of that data. And this is a challenge that we face as well, because our fisheries authorities are quite good at collecting data, okay? But translating that data into usable information for addressing management questions, for management planning, conducting negotiations, working out what aid the industry needs and how to direct that aid to various benefits, going to international fora and negotiating on behalf of your fishers in terms of catch quotas and so on. Use of that information will give you a lot of power. So data can carry you a long way. Knowledge is power.
If we have proper data, we will be able to know where the industry is going and what we are doing wrong and what we are doing right. So if we have proper data, we could really enhance the development of the industry.
But not all data is good data. It may be incomplete or poorly recorded, and we may be missing a big part of the big picture.
The social and economic contributions of fisheries are undervalued. They're undervalued simply because we do not have the data and information to demonstrate those contributions to our societies. We have interests in our fisheries. We have economic interests, we have an economic dependence, we have a social dependence. When we go to international fisheries management fora to talk about our interests, we do not have sufficient quantitative data to put us in a very strong negotiating position. We do fairly well with what we have, but we can do better.
If you don't know how many fishermen you've got, if you don't know how often they're going out, if you don't know what % of their salary comes from fishing, if you don't know what the size of their salary is, if you don't know what their costs are, how can you possibly compensate fishers when there's a problem or attract investment into the industry because you don't know if it's profitable? If there are no fishery is not a very attractive place for new people to come into. How can you monitor the resource if you don't know what you're taking out or you don't know what's there? And the only way you can know what's there is by looking long term at catch rates.
And there's need for even more refined data.
Currently, the information that we use to represent fishing effort is very basic. We use information on a fishing trip, so we look at the catch per trip. But to be able to refine our assessments and to provide more reliable management advice, we need better estimates of effort. So for example, if a fisherman were using a fish pot, we may need to get information on the size of the pot, the size of the mesh for the pot, where the pots are set, and how long the pots are being soaked, so that we get a measure of the kind of work involved in capturing the fish.
Some of the times, the information requested, at that time we don't see the importance to to supply or provide that information. And maybe 3 or 6 months later, or maybe a year later, we realize that, we should have included that information. So sometimes these gaps do have a negative impact on the industry.
Economic dependence in international negotiations, how I've seen it used, they will talk about, for example, the percentage of the population that is dependent on that fishery for income and employment. So numbers of fishers involved in a fishery is a measure of economic dependence. The value of the fishery, the amount of foreign exchange earnings. So all these are data that if we have them, we can demonstrate economic dependence. And you can do comparisons. So you have different types of fisheries, and you would be able to show that, for example, one fishery, there is a heavier reliance for jobs, for food security, for export.
The data collected should be able to inform the fishers about the current status of the industry, and from this information they will be able to make the decision whether or not they should invest more in the industry or find some alternative livelihood.
If you are looking for things like concessions and stuff like that, which largely, and assistance, which can largely rely on the value, the perceived value of what you are, of your fishery, of your business. If you undervalue that, then people are not going to pay that much attention to you. So you're basically, in a sense, shooting yourself in the foot when you do that, because then if your value is 10 times less than your stated value, your recorded value based on what you have given the toll keeper as the size of your catch or whatever, it's going to be 10 times less valued in the sight of the policy makers.
Fishers themselves need to work smart, not hard. They can with better data and information.
I have had the privilege of going out to places like Newfoundland, Mexico, and different places, and see how they are so organized and the benefits that they get from being organized in terms of injection into their fisheries from their governments. And I continue and will continue to encourage fisherfolk across the region who have already started to come together, and those that have not yet started to come together, be united, because this is our livelihood. This is not something that we are in for ourselves today, for our children and our grandchildren, and it is important for us to play our part.
We would like to see that, okay, when the data is collected, it being analyzed and come back to us, and we, both of us, both groups, the people at the top and the fishers, could sit together and make decisions to improve the industry.
Especially in Newfoundland, their experience with the collapse of their codfish industry opened up their eyes and made them realize the importance of having this information available, so that now they are so involved in their sectors that if they don't even wait for the government to put measures in place when it comes into management of their resources, and they're the ones that now provide information for sustaining their industry. And this is the kind of thing that we will want all of our fishers in the regions to do.
It's very essential for fishermen, after they provide the basic data, that they remain involved in the management process. For example, when data are analyzed, okay, they should demand the feedback. They should demand the feedback. Now, if they organize themselves into fisher organizations, fisher focus associations and so on, this is going to go a long way to helping them have a stronger voice. They have to start asking questions. We have this data. What are being used? What are we doing with the data? Where are the reports? What do the reports say? They have to validate what the reports say because it's their data.